we need to take a closer look at positions A and C. In other words, June 21, 22 and December 21, 22. In other words, the June solstice and the December solstice, or in the northern hemisphere, the summer solstice and the winter solstice. First, look at the middle of this diagram. You can see that there's 5 orange arrows that point in both directions. This is solar energy coming away from the sun. In the middle of it, you can see vertical rays. Can you see that? Vertical rays means this. It means the direct rays of the sun, also known as the vertical rays of the sun, also known as 90-degree angle sunlight, also known as the sunbeams straight over your head. So if wherever you are, if you tilt your head back and you look straight up, what that means is on that day, you would look straight up and the sun would be directly over your head at no angle whatsoever, at a 90-degree angle above the horizon, straight above your head. If you look at position A, you will notice this. The direct rays, the vertical rays of the sun on June 21, 22 strike at 23.5 degrees north. 23.5 degrees north is known as the Tropic of Cancer. Take a look back here and look at these two diagrams, the two Earths, and notice that there are dotted lines all over on them. These dotted lines represent critical lines on planet Earth. No matter who makes the map, whether that's the United States or Brazil or Iran or China or Germany, these lines are always printed as dotted lines because they're critical lines on Earth for climate. So again, if you look, you can see that the direct rays of the sun, vertical solar radiation, 90-degree angle sunlight, will be striking on June 21 or 22, our summer solstice in the northern hemisphere, at their farthest position north, which is known as the Tropic of Cancer, 23.5 degrees north. Notice this also. Every place from 66.5 degrees north, which is the Arctic Circle, to the North Pole at 90 degrees north, as the Earth rotates on its axis on this day, will be rotating completely and totally in daylight. The sun does not set. I've been up there at that time of the year. Instead of the sun rising in the east and setting in the west, the sun, strangely enough, goes around you in a circle. It's actually very difficult to tell what time of day it is by the sun because it's going around you in a circle. It's 24 hours of daylight. And then notice this. Every place from 66.5 degrees south to the South Pole at 90 degrees south will rotate completely and totally in darkness. 66.5 degrees south is the Antarctic Circle. This means that the people down there studying penguins and glacial melt and ozone holes are going to be doing this in complete and total darkness at that time of the year. Now let's take a look at position C. Notice now, because the Earth moves as it goes around the sun, and because the axis is always tilted in the same direction, at position C, the winter solstice for the northern hemisphere or the December solstice, the vertical direct rays of the sun, 90-degree angle sunlight, strike at their furthest position south. This position is 23.5 degrees south, also known as the Tropic of Capricorn. That is as far south as the direct rays of the sun, vertical solar radiation, 90-degree angle sunlight will ever strike. Also now notice this. Every place from the Arctic Circle, 66.5 degrees north, to the North Pole at 90 degrees north will rotate completely and totally in darkness. And now the people studying penguins from 66.5 degrees south, the Antarctic Circle, to the South Pole at 90 degrees south will be operating completely and totally in daylight. Let's take a little bit closer look. This is the June solstice. This is what the Earth would look like. On the right-hand side, you can see hours of daylight. Notice this, that at the equator, there are 12 hours of daylight, which also means there's 12 hours of darkness. If you want everything to be the same every day, the equator is your place. Equator equal 12 hours of daylight, 12 hours of darkness all the time. But notice at 41 degrees north, there's 15 hours of daylight, which means, of course, 9 hours of darkness. And if you're at 66.5 degrees north, there's 24 hours of daylight. However, if you look in the southern hemisphere at 41 degrees south, there's 9 hours of daylight, and at 66.5 degrees south, the Antarctic Circle, no daylight. At the opposite time of the year during the December solstice, now notice, once again, the equator, 12 hours of daylight, 12 hours of darkness. But at 41 degrees north, 9 hours of daylight, which means 15 hours of darkness. And this is because of the Earth's tilt. And at 66.5 degrees north, you can see there's no daylight. However, in the southern hemisphere at 41 degrees south, 15 hours of daylight. And at 66.5 degrees south, the Antarctic Circle, once again, now they are at 24 hours of daylight.